People paid $1 to tell a lie ended up believing the lie more than people paid $20 to tell the exact same lie. Less money bought more sincerity. Say that sentence again in your head and notice how wrong it feels. It feels wrong because everything you know about human beings says the opposite should be true. More payment should buy more persuasion. More reward should buy more enthusiasm. That is how bribery works, how sales commissions work, how every transaction you have ever made works. And yet, in a small room at Stanford University in 1957, that entire logic collapsed. Leon Festinger and James Carlsmith did not set out to break your intuition about money. They set out to test something stranger. What happens inside a person when their actions and their private beliefs stop matching? Their prediction, based on standard reinforcement theory at the time, was simple. Pay someone more to say something and they should shift their attitude more, because a bigger reward creates a bigger psychological push. $20 in 1957 was serious money, roughly equivalent to a week's wages for many people. $1 was almost nothing. Loose change with a signature. Here is what they built. College students were brought in one at a time and given the most tedious task imaginable, turning wooden pegs on a board, a quarter turn at a time for close to an hour. No purpose, no variation, no end in sight. It was designed to be excruciating, and it worked. Every participant found it dull. Then came the twist. Each subject was told the study was actually about expectations. Whether believing a task is enjoyable in advance affects performance. They were asked to tell the next participant, who was actually a hired confederate, that the peg-turning task had been fun, interesting, enjoyable. Some subjects were paid $1 for this lie. Others were paid $20. Afterward, in what they believed was an unrelated interview, every subject was asked to rate, privately and anonymously, how they truly felt about the task. This is where the story stops being about pegs and starts being about you. The $1 group rated the boring task as genuinely enjoyable, an average score of roughly positive 1.35 on the scale used. The $20 group rated it barely above neutral, close to negative 0.05, statistically indistinguishable from people who were paid nothing at all and never lied. The people who were paid more to lie ended up believing their own lie the least. Sit with that gap for a second, because the experiment is asking you to explain something that should not need explaining. Both groups turned the same pegs. Both groups told the same lie to the same kind of stranger. The only difference was the number written on a check. And somehow that number determined whether a person's private, unspoken belief about their own experience got quietly rewritten. Here is the mechanism, and it is worth being precise about it, because cognitive dissonance gets thrown around so casually that people forget it describes an actual structural problem the brain is forced to solve. A person holds a self-concept. I am an honest person. I do not lie without good reason. Then that same person performs an action that violates it. I just told a stranger a boring task was fascinating, for money. Those two facts cannot comfortably coexist. The mind registers this as a kind of internal contradiction that demands resolution, not because it is polite, but because an unresolved conflict between self-image and behavior is genuinely costly to carry around. There are only so many ways to close that gap. You can change the memory of what you did, hard since the behavior is done and often witnessed. Or you can change the belief that made the behavior contradictory in the first place. The $20 group had an easy exit. $20 is a perfectly reasonable reason to say something you don't fully mean. Their behavior had sufficient external justification, so their internal beliefs never needed to move. The $1 group had no such exit. $1 is not enough money to explain away a lie, not even to yourself. With no external justification strong enough to account for the behavior, the only remaining option was to manufacture an internal one, to actually start believing the task was somewhat enjoyable, not as a lie to others, as a correction made quietly, privately, for an audience of one. Subscribe if you'd rather catch this happening inside you before it finishes rewriting the evidence. And this is not confined to a laboratory with pegboards. This is running underneath ordinary decisions you have already made this year. Think of the moment you bought something at full price. No discount, no sale, nothing to blame but your own judgment. And it turned out to be mediocre. Notice how quickly you found reasons it was actually worth it. Compare that to something you got on deep discount that disappointed you the same way. Far easier to admit it was junk because the low price already explains the bad decision. The full price purchase had no external justification available, so your mind supplied an internal one instead. Think of underpaid work that gets described sincerely as meaningful, not by someone lying to a boss, but by someone convincing themselves in the quiet hour before sleep. If the paycheck can't justify the hours, something else has to, and belief is cheaper to produce than a raise. Think of the small favor you did for someone you don't particularly like, driving them somewhere, covering their shift, sitting through their bad news, for no reward at all. Watch how the story shifts afterward from "I felt obligated" to "I actually care about them more than I thought." No payment occurred, so the justification had to be manufactured entirely from the inside. Think of the sentence you said in a group only because everyone else seemed to believe it, and how, days later, you find yourself defending that sentence as your own genuine position. The social pressure that actually caused it disappears from memory first. The belief remains, freshly relabeled as something you always thought. This is not an occasional glitch. This is a standing feature of how self-concept gets maintained, and the downstream cost of it is easy to underestimate. A person doing this repeatedly does not just misremember one afternoon. Over years, they become an unreliable narrator of their own motives. Decisions made for weak, embarrassing, or coerced reasons get quietly refiled as authentic preferences, sincerely held. And because the pattern rewards weak justification with strong belief, it has a cruel asymmetry. The less someone is paid, respected, or compensated for tolerating something, the more sincerely they may come to defend it. This is part of how people stay in underpaying jobs and call it loyalty, how people remain in harmful situations under minimal external pressure and call it choice. The smaller the coercion, the more total the internal rewrite required to make peace with it. None of this asks for your judgment. It is simply the architecture running exactly as designed in a species that cannot tolerate contradiction between what it does and what it believes about itself. Which means, right now, something in you is already doing the accounting. Some part of you is quietly assembling a reason you watch this video for this long. Curiosity, research, background noise, anything but simply being caught by it. Some part of you is already deciding what you really think about a peg-turning task from 1957 and about the last cheap, unpaid, unjustified thing you did and called meaningful anyway. It is running now. It was running before you noticed. It will keep running after this ends.